Hey, beautiful people, this is Allison, and I am out for my daily walk, and it is hot outside, but my body is used to it, and I'm walking at a slower pace. But anyways, I wanted to get on and talk a little bit about African Americans doing their family research, learning more about our ancestors. So in this video, I'm going to share with you guys a few tips. These are a few simple things that you can do. This is especially for the beginners, those that are interested in researching their family lineage but don't know where to start. For those that have retired, people that are over 60, over 50, and you're looking for a new hobby, something to do to stimulate your brain. If you love history, you like learning, just stay tuned. In this video, I'm going to provide you with just some few simple tips. And before I get started, I'm not an expert by no means. I have been researching my family lineage for since 2016, off and on. I have a basic understanding of research and some of the things that you can do, some resources that will help you on that journey to finding out more about your family, your ancestors, where they're from, and all that good stuff. And so before I get started, I want to give a shout out to I think her name is Lydia. She's a YouTuber on Life by Design. She had I was inspired really to record this video after watching her video on some secretly kept tips, secrets, hobbies, or something of that nature. I'll put the link to her video in the description of this video, but she just provided some ideas and suggestions for women over 60 that are looking for new hobbies, to try new things. And one was doing your family research. And so when I heard that, I was like, oh well, yeah, that's right, because again, I've been researching my family lineage for quite some time, and that is like a great hobby, something that you can do if you're looking to learn new things. So with that said, let me get started in the tips. Oh yes, and by the way, if you're new here, a little bit about the channel. On the channel, I provide just some basic holistic health and wellness, self-care tips for Black women over the age of 50 to just empower them, or empower us and me, to live our best life, age gracefully, and obtain optimal health. And in case you're wondering, well, how does researching your family lineage fits into all of that? It's your overall self, things that we can do to take care of ourselves. And one way to take care of ourselves, especially our brain, as we get older, is to learn something new. So researching your family lineage would help greatly in just exercising your mind and learning something new. So with that said, let's get started, and just a few things that you can do to help you get started. So the first thing that you can do is, first you want to maybe, and this is in no particular order. These are just, a few things. But you can go online and you can download a pedigree chart or ancestry chart or lineage chart. And on that chart, it will allow you to go back 5 generations and will help you really sort of kind of get organized and give you a great place to start instead of writing things in notebooks or whatever, which notebooks are helpful, but this is just for beginners. So download that chart. Another thing that you want to do is, before you really get started in the research, you want to come up with your why. Why are you doing this? What's your reason for, or your reasons for wanting to research your family lineage? That will help greatly with helping you, again, stay organized. And when things are getting like a little overwhelming, which it can when you are doing your family research, just always remember your why. For me, my why was I wanted to learn more about my family, about my heritage, my lineage, and I realized that I knew very little beyond my parents. And in fact, I didn't really know a lot about their lives as children and where they grew up. I was born in the city and county where my dad was born. However, my mother was born in another city and county in the state that I was born in. We all were born in the state of Alabama, but I knew very little about them, how their lives were when they were growing up. Growing up, no one really talked about it. And to be honest, I didn't have the language to really even ask. And both of my parents have now transitioned, and my aunts and uncles on both sides. And so their generation, they're gone. And so I wanted to know more, for me to learn more about where I'm from, who my people were. Secondly, I am a parent and I want to leave a legacy for my daughter and then any generations to come after her. I want something written down for her, and in case she decides to have a family one day, I don't want her to be in the dark. Another thing too, here in America, and especially now with the climate, the political climate, there's so much effort and thing that is being put to try to wipe our history out of the history books. And there's so much we've done, people of African descent in this country, in the U.S., the huge contribution that we made to make this country what it is, all the great things about this country. Our ancestor played a significant role in that. And so those were my reasons why I wanted to start doing my family research. So back to the tips. The 2 things: download this chart, then come up with your why you want to do it. Another story around your why: since I have been researching my family lineage, I have met so many people that are related to me, and I heard stories of people that they're looking for their biological family. They don't know, they were either adopted, or they don't know who their dad or their mom was. They want to know who they are. You know, they want to know their family. Or you might have some that knew, but the family, for some reason, they separated and they haven't spoke to people in their family for a long time. So come up with your reasons. There might be more than one reason, but this will help you with staying focused when things get challenging. So we got those three. We got our chart. So when you're starting, you always want to start with you. So on the chart, you're going to list you first. Your name, if you're married, maiden name, your date of birth, any information about you, where you were born, the year, and all that good stuff. You're going to put that on that chart. Then you're going to move up to your parents. Start with you, and then you're going to move up. Put your parents' names down. Any information about your parents, where they were born, the date, and all the good stuff. Then your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and all the way up until you can't fill that form out anymore. And if you run into challenges where you just don't have any information, like I mentioned with myself, I didn't know my grandparents. By the time I came along, I was born in 1965, they all were gone, both sides. And so I didn't know them. I didn't have a relationship with them. And what is really sad, the more I started researching my family lineages, and I had relationships with great aunts and uncles back in the day when I was a teenager, a young girl. And these were great aunts and uncles, even though the grandparents were no longer there. I grew up around the aunts and uncles and didn't think nothing of it. And apparently neither did they. Because again, no one said anything to me. So fast forward when I got started. So fast forward to 2005, 2006. I was at a family reunion, and one of my the oldest person that was there, this was on my maternal side, on my mother's side, and she was that oldest person, and I got her parents' name, which would have been my great-grandparents. Got their names, wrote it down. Again, didn't think anything of it. Fast forward to 2016. I was at a family get-together where an uncle, who's no longer here, they had an 85th birthday party for him. I'm going to walk up the hill backwards. Now I hope you guys can see me good. Let me turn back around because the sun is not good. And there in the room was my mother's sister. And this is on my mother's side. And so while everyone was around having a good time and was so happy to be together, no one had transitioned or passed away, I saw the aunt, and I went to her and I asked for the names of grandparents. And she had given me additional information on top of the great aunt that had given me information prior. 2005 or 6. So I was like, okay, you need to get started now. because the uncle was 85 and she was like 87, 88, 89 or something. And still in her right mind. So, but anyways, shared that story with you on utilize the people in your life. So if you don't have any information like their names, who they were, ask around. If there are people that are still alive, maybe see if you can get some names from them to help you fill out your chart. So another tip, you want to utilize the people around you that can help. Another thing, so once you've built up your list, and hopefully you can go back to the 5th generation, but if you can't, that's okay. Work with what you have, and then you're going to go on Ancestry.com, My Family Search, Family Search, or My Heritage, and you're going to create you a profile. And all of these accounts is absolutely free to create a profile and create you a tree. So you're going to take that information, your name, your ancestors, whatever, you're going to start your tree. And okay, one second. I'm walking and my walk is talking. I'm gonna let it finish before. It's hard out here. Okay, so now you're gonna take that written information, you're gonna put it on your tree in either one of those applications. They're free to start. They're free for a basic plan. You could build out a tree, and so you're gonna build your tree. And the more information that you put about your ancestor, what those applications will do when they see those names, it's gonna search their database to see if they can find profiles or find information out about those ancestors and people that you have on your tree. And in those tools or in that software, they have access to census records from back in the day, all types of vital records. So the more information that you have about your ancestor, it will help the database bring you back what they call like hints. And the hints are going to come back and they're like, hey, I have a hint for you. This might be an ancestor. This might be one of your ancestors. So say if there was the Allison Woodley from 1900, and she was born in Etowah County, Alabama in 1888, and I have that person on my tree, the county, all that information. It's going to search that database and see, hey, we found a census document with her name on it. We found maybe even a marriage certificate, marriage information. It's going to bring you back information that might be helpful for you. And so what you want to do is when it brings you back those hints. I use Ancestry a lot. I've been on Family Search, maybe My Heritage, so I'm not that quite familiar with, I think they all are the same and similar. I did hear that Family Search has a larger database and access to a lot more information than the Ancestry, but I use Ancestry. But yeah, it's going to bring you back hints. It's also going to, you might be able to, well, one thing with that free plan, you, even though it's bringing you those hints back, and say it has, one of the hints is that it found a census document with your ancestor's name on it, and you want to actually go take a look at that census from 1880 or whatever. You can't look at it unless you invest in the paid account. So just keep that in mind when you're setting your account up, and then you start trying to look at some of the things. It's their way of, earning some money. And so just keep that in mind. You may not be able to view all of those records. They want you to invest in a plan. But and also when you are, so say you have the paid plan, the system will come back with their name, the information, but just don't rely on what the system says. It does bring you back an actual copy where someone has gone to the vital records in those counties, and they have uploaded those vital records into the system. And sometimes, a lot of stuff is read. You might not be able to understand the handwriting. So you want to look at the document itself. Just don't rly solely on what the system says. And you want to look at, just look at the document and see if that's your people. And if it is, it gives you the option to say, yes, this is my person. And it gives you the option of attaching that to your profile, to your tree. And another thing, if I can go back to when you're talking to family and trying to get information, and when you come around and you start asking questions, I'll tell you, some people, they don't want to get that information up. I ran into a lot of that once I just started asking questions. They were gatekeeping everything. They did not want to, and the only thing I wanted to do was just find out about the family, my family, and not to dig up dirt or whatever, but history is history. So whatever happened, it happened. I just want to learn more about my lineage, and I'm proud of who I am. So I just want to know more about my people. But you might run into a lot of resistance, and I had learned that later on. When you start asking questions, just be prepared that a lot of family people might not be that forthcoming. And especially when you're dealing with seniors, and if they grew up in like a troubling time, they might be a little hesitant about renewing that time in their life that wasn't so pleasant. And especially if they came along at a time during Jim Crow, or that life wasn't all that great. And so you can ask questions when you are, I bet you when you were a little girl, a little boy, how was it like? What did the kids do for fun? Something fun, not anything direct. And allow them to just start talking, and try not to interrupt them when they're talking. Just allow them to talk, and you'd be surprised that in their conversation you find some information. And if possible, take your recorder and record them and, ask for permission. But honey, with all of these gadgets on the phone, and especially if I know I'm not going trying to get none of their personal information, I might just turn the recorder on my phone and get what I can get. So, but again, keep that in mind when you're using your family as a resource to get some information. They might be a little resistant, and you have to be real creative with asking questions. Another thing that you can do is with Ancestry, and again, I'll talk about it. Ancestry will allow you to take a DNA test, and they're always having sales on the DNA test. So you could take a DNA test, and what the DNA test does on Ancestry, it shows you who you're related to that are also on Ancestry, and you'd be surprised. You're gonna find some people, and they might have a tree. Hopefully the tree is public, where you can see who's on that tree. And what Ancestry has done, they keep making improvements in the system. So with you filling out your tree and they filled out their tree, Ancestry will find like that common ancestor and try to tie you two together. So consider maybe investing in Ancestry. A lot of the files and things like that, these are from ancestors. These are people that have transitioned. They're no longer alive. They're taking information from like 40 and 50 years ago. Like the latest census that's out is like from 1950. That's the latest census that has been released. So, so your family, do them, consider DNA. Another thing that I did do is I invested in African Ancestry. And what African Ancestry does, let me go back for a second with Ancestry. Ancestry, they will tell you, okay, you 20% African, you 20% from this part of Europe, and then they're breaking down what part of African. But their database, as far as the African database, is very limited. Their samples are very, very limited. So I wanted to see if I can trace my roots back to Africa, back to a country and ethnic group in Africa. And the only test that you can take that have like a huge database, I mean tens and thousands of samples from people in Africa, throughout the continent of Africa, especially I think the West Coast, the country that was on the border where they were pulling people, and I think maybe Central, but they have the largest database. So I took the African Ancestry test, and for women you can take the maternal side, and my results show that the woman that they abducted from Africa, her DNA, my DNA, matches the people of Sierra Leone, the Mende people. So there's one branch on my heritage. I could trace it all the way back to women, say 500 up to 2,000 years ago. So I'll put the link to that. So if you're interested in not just your family history once they were brought into this country, or throughout the Caribbean, but you wanted to go beyond who they were before they were brought here. And again, our story is long before that time. You could take the African ancestry. So another thing that you can do that helped me out tremendously, once I was in Ancestry, there are people there that will leave a message on their profile, and they will say, hey, if you need any help, I will help you out. And so I reached out to one person that had a message there. Her family was also from the same area where my mother was born. And so she had been researching her family for years, long before things were automated. And so, but she helped me out greatly. So look for people that have that message, hey, I'm open to help, and or the people that you see that you're related to, you can reach out to them, and then you guys can chat a little bit and share information. You can also go and visit wherever your ancestors lived, or even where you were born, and say you could still be living there, but you just getting started. You can go to the library there. A lot of times there might be someone there at the library that can help you with your research. If you don't live in the same place, you can, if you can afford it, make a trip there and travel to the area. Also, the libraries offer like newspapers. You can check out the newspapers from that time to see exactly what was going on during that time when your ancestors were alive. Also, for African Americans, we weren't listed by name on the census. Started in 1870. So you can go back to 1870 and find census where that's where they started to count us. However, they have slave schedules. So say, for example, in 1870, you have an ancestor that was 20 years old. They're from a particular city and county in the South. And you get the census, 1870, they're 20. They have slave schedules from like 1850 and 1860s. And those enslavers, they were responsible for listing, providing the schedule with all of the people that they enslaved. They weren't listed by name. They were just listed by gender and age. So say your main name is Williams, and your main name is Williams, or your last name is William, you're not married, last name is Williams, and you go back to the slave schedule from 1860, and this particular county and city in Alabama, and you're going to search for the slave schedule from 1860 of an enslaver with the last name of Williams. And on that slave schedule, you're going to look to see if there was a male that was, say, maybe 10 years old during that time. And that's a possibility. That was your ancestor showing up on this enslaver list of all the people that they enslaved. So you might have, say, a male. The enslaver name was Williams. They lived in this city, in this county, in this state. I'm gonna go in the cool air. So they have, and I'm gonna wrap this up in a minute. So you, that might be a way for you to tie it in. Okay, my walker's going off again. Okay. He's just talking. Okay. Okay. So that might be a way for you to possibly find out who enslaved your ancestor. So you're going to look for an enslaver with the last name Williams and on the slave schedule. If you're looking for a young boy, so in 1870 when he shows up with the name, he's 20 years old, you can go back to the 1860 slave schedule and see if there's a boy with that's on the enslavers list that's 10. That's a possibility that person might be related to you. And then what you can do, you can because it's so long ago, you can see if you can find that enslaver's will. And on the wills and things like that, you know, they were required to then list the names of the people that they enslaved, because they looked at us like property. But on the wills, they had to list them, and you might be able to find out the enslaver and stuff like that. So I have, in my journey, I've met so many people, family that I didn't know. I have pictures of ancestors that were born in slavery, but I have pictures, and this came through me meeting relatives that I didn't know, but they had pictures that were passed down, and they passed them down to me. I have found one great-great-grandfather that was born, he was enslaved, but he shows up on the 1870 census, and I found that he was a registered voter, and in 1870 I found that he owned about 80 acres of land. He had money, he had real estate, he was, he was a prominent person, looks like during that time. So right after slavery was abolished, you know, black men were setting stuff up. They were getting things started. And then, you know, of course, when Jim Crow came along, then that, you know, they came in and started taking their properties and things like that. So I'm planning to go back and try to find out, the car is coming, more research about him. But I have so many stories where I have gone to a church. Oh, and don't be afraid to go to cemeteries and these small rural towns. A lot of times the church, the cemeteries, they were only like 1 or 2 cemeteries that where they allowed people African descents, African Americans to be born, and a lot of times it was connected to the church. So don't be afraid to go to the cemetery, because you might be able to find a little bit about your ancestors there. Obituaries. I remember my dad used to keep obituaries, and I used to wonder, why in the world he keep keeping all these obituaries? But in those obituaries, you find out a lot of information about your ancestor. And so yeah, join the Genealogy Society. A lot of them are free. There might be some in your area. There are regional ones, there are local ones. There's one here in Atlanta where you can join from anywhere. They're virtual We have focus groups for particular states throughout the South. So, but anyways, that's a lot of information. Some of the things I'm going to put in the description section. And I hope this helped. Again, if you are on a journey to finding out more about yourself, you love history, you want to leave a legacy for your family, especially if you're over 60, don't believe the narrative about we were lazy and all that mess, or all of us, our ancestors were enslaved, because that was not the truth. We were powerful people. We built this country, like they say, and some of our story is there. And so don't allow this country or whatever that's going on to tell our story. You tell your story and tell it to your family. So I hope this helps. I had on a plan to talk for a few minutes, but once I got to going, and as you can see, I'm really, really passionate about it. So, but in the comments, if you have been researching your family lineage, I would love to hear from you and share some tips and things that you've been doing to help you, and listing the resources that you've been using. I would appreciate it. I am going to stop my walk and get my water, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Have a blessed life.